Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video, we'll be talking about the patch 8.3 that should be now available for both EU as well as NA. I want to talk about the Allied Race Death Knights and the fact that they're finally here. I want to talk about some of the massive nerfs for PvP that has to do with trinkets that I think a lot of you guys, especially fans of the 5.5-1v1 duel series, will be happy about, and just overall some of the basics about patch 8.3. The patch 8.3 is finally here, and already off the bat we can see that there's just so much to do when it comes to dealing with professions and staying on top of that before the seasonal stuff begins, trying to grind out your necklace, the time commitment it takes for all those quests to really get through, the Vapera, the Mechanomes, and maybe even dive in and making yourself an Allied Race Death Knight just to see what that's like. Already day one, I feel like there's just almost way too much to do, which is always a good thing in an MMO. We've been waiting for patch 8.3 and all the content for quite a while, and I probably should have gotten a little more sleep the night before the patch dropped, because otherwise it wouldn't have been as exhausted as I am right now, because there's just so much to do. Early warning for any of you that are going to be getting into patch 8.3. I would say if you're someone who's not going to be going for like top World 100 rating or trying to be the best of the best in PvP, take this patch easy. Take it slow. There's so many new mechanics to keep track of in patch 8.3, from the legendary cloak that needs to be managed to all the different assaults that you now need to do on a daily basis. Then there's also the necklace upgrades that are back in action, so AP matters again. And being on top of all these things and trying not to fall behind can sometimes feel like a rat race. If you're someone who's a more casual player for the game, you know, you like to get, let's say, 2k rating, but not at the very beginning of like the first 2 weeks of the season, or you're not someone who pushes keys really hard, or trying to be top 100 world first N'Zoth mythic kills, then it's a really good idea to take this patch slow. You don't need to do everything in a single day, especially with this first week. Right now, this is a week for people to either grind or to get used to the mechanics. If you're someone who's more casual, take more time getting used to all the new mechanics and everything there's to do in patch 8.3. The Allied Race Death Knights are finally here, and did they meet my expectations? Honestly, I was hoping that the Allied Race Death Knight introduction would be very similar to what the other vanilla races have for Death Knights. The introduction where they go through a bit of a story and there's a little bit of fight and there's more cutscene, but it seems that the Allied races, as well as Pandaren, their Death Knight origins, is very cut and dry. It's just, here you are, you're a Death Knight, swear your fealty to Bolvar, and off you go. Which is nice. This is great for anybody who doesn't want to play through the Death Knight introduction multiple times. Another positive of a very brisk, very short introduction is if you're going to be getting a bunch of heritage armor for all these new allied races, now that all allied races can play Death Knights, who start at a much higher level than if you were to play any other class, Death Knights looking like the best class to start with if you are trying to complete all the heritage armor classes. You have Blood Death Knight, which is a very great tank that can self-heal, so you're able to pull multiple mobs and survive basically almost impossible encounters. Unholy and Frost both stand toe-to-toe as a DPS alternative, whichever playstyle you want. So if you are going to be leveling any heritage armor, I think Death Knight might end up being the meta, where in the past I've seen people talk about playing monks so you can get the XP buff. I feel like just the fast pace of what a Death Knight can bring you and the massive level skip the Death Knight offers could definitely be worth. You guys can let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Death Knight introduction? Do you like it that it's short, or should it have been a much bigger, longer ordeal to really get you involved into the story? All of you guys that are fans of the 5.5-1v1 duels and are not fans of tank trinkets in PvP, Blizzard is doing yet another massive nerf, just blasting these tank trinkets and potential healer-based trinkets out of the new raids as well as dungeons out of PvP. We're seeing massive nerfs, so about 30 to 40 to 50% nerfs with a lot of these absorbed trinkets. Some of these tank trinkets are actually quite strong within arenas, and they allow certain classes with very interesting wombo combos to get quite a bit of extra self-sustain, to the point where sometimes they don't even need a healer to maintain them. While that might feel nice to be powerful, and while these trinkets don't completely supplement all the self-healing that a class might need. For example, a Death Knight with a Spore Pod trinket, which is an under-rot trinket for tanks, which they actually have access to since Blood DK is a tank spec. They can still loot it while being Unholy or Frost. They could take that trinket into arenas. 2v2s or 3v3s. And while that trinket won't replace all that death strike healing, the extra healing and sustain on top of it that it provides them just allows them to keep trucking a little bit more and replace a lot of the globals where they would use death strikes into raw offensive abilities. And then there's other DPS that are even more egregious than a Death Knight. I want to point to Demon Hunters because of the leech mechanic they have with Demonic. With the talent of Demonic, when you use an I-beam, you enter Demon form, and with a certain talent combo, you can have quite a bit of extra leech. Plus, all the leech on your gear could also supplement the extra sustainable healing. While in Metamorphosis they have extra leech, which means all the damage or self-healing they do also provides them an extra healing buff. So basically they're, in a sense, multiplying by a factor all the healing and damage they do as a heal for themselves. I'll leave off Demon Hunter as an extreme example because of its Leech Wombo combo and how easily it can get into Metamorphosis through I-beam, how often it comes back up. It just makes him super tanky. So a lot of you guys that are fans of the 5-5 1-in-1 duels should be pretty happy. Unless you are a Monk, Demon Hunter, or Unholy Death Knight, most of you guys should be pretty happy. PvP trinkets are fine within PvP, and we do have some tanky variations of these trinkets, like the Safeguard trinket, as well as a Battlemaster trinket that can increase your raw health pool. But when people are using trinkets outside of dungeons and raids, it does make it feel like you have to do dungeons or raids to be better at PvP. And I'm glad that Blizzard is trying to nip it in the bud as early as possible. However, these nerfs might still not be enough, and I could definitely see Blizzard nerfing these trinkets by extra 10 to 20%, depending on how egregious the healing that they output even the nerf version of these trinkets can do, and depending on if somebody will figure out a more broken approach, more broken build that might utilize these trinkets, or maybe a completely another trinket altogether. Either way, this is everything we have for patch 8.3. As of right now, the patch just launched, and I'm expecting a bunch of buffs and nerfs at around Tuesday, Wednesday reset, as Blizzard is going to see just how corruptions affect certain classes. Maybe certain corruption effects might need to be nerfed. Maybe certain classes now scale a lot better with maybe some better gear, slightly higher item level, maybe with a legendary cloak, they might need to buff it or nerf it. So I'm expecting a lot of updates going around for a variety of different classes. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. You guys let me know your thoughts on the initial updates for patch 8.3, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.